Hello and welcome to the next episode of podcast Digital Twin. Today we will talk about how to buy Industry 4.0 or 5.0 based solutions. Stay tuned.
Digital Twin Podcast is a place where technology and business is going hand in hand.
If you are thinking about digitalizing your company, you found the right place.
Podcast is hosted by Adrian Stelmach, consultant who implements IT solutions for manufacturing companies.
And Paul Pachowicz, industrial digitalization expert, who helps global companies to optimize production processes. Hello. This is the usual approach that we do for every episode is we try to summarize the previous one. So what would be the short summary of episode number 20, Adrian?
I would say that we already have like 4 or 5 even episodes about Industry 4.0, and the last ones were focused on the very detailed about how to use the technology. We choose the 3 most important ones, which we think that are most universal if you think about Industry 4.0. And which they can help in any kind of business. So from the general approach of Industry 4.0 to their very detailed, and we are in the finish of this, on the end, I would say, of this road trip regarding to talking about industry revolutions. And today we will talk about selling and buying.
Yeah, so we'll look at the super complicated process of buying IT solutions like 4.0 or 5.0 solutions, but we will try to make it understandable, and we will try to explain that it's difficult for both sides. It's super difficult, to like align all the stakeholders and create a value proposition that is good for certain company, but it's also super difficult to actually buy from us, right? Because the amount of knowledge you have to make rational decisions is just unbelievable. So we'll try to look at this process from both sides. Yeah. So
if you consider like buying process, it's very overwhelming, right? Because it's the same if you want to buy a car, right? You have so many different vendors, you have so many different companies, you have so many different approaches, and how to choose the one which will fit best for you, right?
So let's say that we are digital transformation managers or continuous improvement people, and we want to implement solutions like IT solutions that can support the productivity of our companies. Like, what should be the first step of I don't want to spoil it. I want you to explain what would be the first step of that kind of process.
It depends if we are, a digital transformation manager who came to company which is already have a clear-cut strategy, and the machine is running, or you are the one who have to figure it out how to start the machine. I think we should talk about the second scenario because it's much more interesting.
Sure. And very often this is the most probable scenario, right? Because from my experience, there's a lot of work that needs to be done, but the first step is always like the most difficult one. And usually when I start talking to digital transformation managers, they have plans, but they don't have the roadmap yet, of how to structure this this approach. So I think this is it makes a lot of sense to analyze companies' needs first, right? Because you have to start with something. But how do you analyze? How do you approach analyzing needs? Like, what kind of factors that you have to include there? What do you have to consider? Do you have to consider this like bottlenecks of the whole production company, or there's some certain areas that can just provide you the most ROI. Because like we just said at the beginning of this episode, it's super difficult for both sides, for the party that's selling the solution, but also for the party that's buying the solution. So how do you analyze needs? How do you approach that process?
Yeah, let's say that there's a board or CEO who comes to me, and I'm a digital transformation manager. He tells me, we need to be more competitive, and we need to have more technology involved, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he just tell me the general approach, and he says to me, okay, you should figure it out how to do it. So my first step, what I should do in this kind of scenario would be to ask this person, or to make like a very big brainstorm with some other people, which are stakeholders, and the most important people who are holding the decision-making process in different places or different areas of the company, to map it in 3 dimensions. I like to map those kind of things in 3 dimensions, which are problems, needs, and expectations.
Okay.
And what are problems? Problems are mostly easy to generate, because those are things which we are talking about every single day, right? So this machine is not working, or we don't have this kind of report, or client expectations is this, and so on. So we just open on clear spreadsheet, Excel spreadsheet, and just talk to all of the people and map all of those problems regarding to their everyday work. And after that, we should talk about needs. And yeah, one more thing. If you think about problems, needs, or expectations, just don't think about hierarchy yet, because it will be the next step. Spoiler alert. Just write what is in your head, just map it, and then in the second step, you'll think about what is more or less important. Second thing is needs. So needs, those are problems, of course, but they are more related with some personal, I would say,
Like preferences,
things,
maybe.
right?
Yeah.
More preferences. Or let's say that I need more people to do my tasks. Or let's say our computers are too old. Or let's say our network is too slow. Those are real needs which we have. So we need more people, or we need better network, or we need better processes, or we need to cooperate better. There are things which are not related, related directly to problems, but they are generating those problems, right? And this third thing is expectations. So what are the expectations about the future from a different stakeholder point of view, right? So do we want to be environmental friendly more, or do we want to save more money regarding to, for example, energy consumption, or we want to have more people on, and as managers who are making the decisions? What are those expectations? And after we have those 3 dimensions, it should be a long list. We should make a hierarchy of it. So we should think about what is the most important 3 problems, where are the 3 most important needs, and what are the 3 most feeling expectations.
Okay. So why those 3 areas? Like, is it helpful? I'm guessing it's helpful with during the rest of the process. But why those 3 areas?
Yeah, because mostly stakeholders think, or digital transformation managers, they are thinking only about one specific problems which they have to solve, right? So let's say we have to make our machines 3% more efficient, or we have to cut the cycle time about 2 seconds. Okay, that's correct. But is this solving this problem is also solving some other ones, or solving those problems is making us, going in the right directions regarding to our expectations about the future. So you need to have like a broader context of the specific things which you are thinking about and specific technologies which you want to choose in the future, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, those three elements, they are responsible for the roadmap. They are responsible for you not implementing something that is absolutely disconnected from the rest of the company, right? The rest of the processes.
Yeah, if you think about roadmap is a race already, right? So you are starting the race from point A, you are going, in different sideways. It's like a marathon, let's say, right?
Mhm.
But mapping those three dimensions is something like you are going to choose what kind of shoes will fit you
Mm.
best, or what kind of training you should start if you want to start the race. So it's something which is way before mapping, and which usually is not done by companies. They are like, they are just want to start the race, and they're like waking up. Okay, let's just run, right? And running without a proper preparation, without training, without proper, tools, it's like very hard, as you can imagine.
Yeah, you may get hurt actually if you do that. And
Yeah, exactly.
one more thing that I think should be mentioned here, and I think you did a little bit. It's the fact that you need to engage with the employees, right? Because you mentioned stakeholders, just to get their opinions and kind of align it. I'm pretty sure there will be 15 of them, and they will all have different preferences. Um, but uh, employees, I don't mean like C-level people or directors. I mean employees that will be affected uh, the most, through this process of digitalization or just implementing that solution. How do you approach that? I think it's important, like for all the people managing change or implementing digital solutions. It seems very obvious, but on the other hand, I don't see that happens very often. Can you say a little more about that?
Yeah, being open to problems, needs, and expectations from all of the employees is very important. But you have to know one thing. It is also related with the process of change management, which you have to do in your company. What do I mean? Um, okay, let's say there's no decision yet if there will be any change, right?
Mhm.
Because you're just mapping problems, needs, and expectations. After that, there's some other steps which we involve today, and we talk about it. But after the decision is made, so the company is making a change, before starting the change or before starting the entire purchasing process of the specific solution, you should ask everyone about their problems, needs, expectations, because those people are more near the process. They are more near the real problems of the company sometimes, right? It's like you have a director of a school and a teacher. Like teacher knows his student, director doesn't know exactly. He knows like in general what's going on in a specific class. So it's the same, but you have to know exactly if you want to ask people before, or you just wanna make a additional step just before starting the entire process. I mean, because if the decision is already made, you can communicate it,
Mhm.
and then you can analyze the potential needs of the employees, or you can start with it. It depends on the specific change management strategy.
Sure. Okay, so let's say that we have the needs and like analyzed, and then we spoke to all the stakeholders, including the people working at the production line. Um, the next step would be budgeting and planning, right? But my question would
Yeah.
be, what should happen first, the budgeting and planning, or uh, evaluating or evaluating potential vendors? I mean, how do you approach that? Because if you analyze the needs but you don't have like the proper knowledge, how can you approach budgeting and planning? So the question is, what do you do first, budgeting and planning, or kind of market research, to find out the best companies that can provide value for your company?
It depends how experienced digital transformation team do you have, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because let's say your team is very experienced and you have some people which were vendors before or they are working for vendors, so they actually know how the market looks like. But so if you do have such an experienced team, it means that you can do some planning, budgeting, and this entire process of mapping those problems, needs, and expectations by yourself as a digital transformation manager or like a digital transformation leader. But if you don't have it, it means that you should start working with someone who will coach you like from day zero, right? It's the same as I said about marathon, right? If you have no clue about how to run marathons, you don't know what kind of problems are involved, right? What kind of shoes do you have to choose, or what kind of diet you should go to, and so on. So, um, so you need someone to help from the beginning. But if you have someone like that, or you can do it by your own, budgeting and planning means that after you have your top three needs, your top three problems, your top three expectations, and some other ones which are hierarchical, you should talk about the stakeholders about what are the expectations about the budgeting. I mean, we have no idea now what kind of solutions are there on the market and what kind of how much do they cost. But we do need to say what kind of expectations about the pricing do we have. Do we want to spend 1 million? Do we want to spend 10 million? Or the price doesn't matter, because most important thing is return on the investment. So we can put like 100 million, at least if it will be returned in like 3 years or something like that, right? So so you can do it, as I said, in multiple ways, but someone who will tell you, okay, this kind of problems usually can be solved in 100,000 ways, but what is your budget? Because you can just hire one student who will work with in 1 year and just write you some specific code, or you can hire a professional team of coders, architects, project managers, you know and other guys who will just exactly tell you how you should run this race.
Yeah. So okay, so we can kind of solve the riddle of the question that I asked. What about now, the budgeting or planning? Planning should go first, but sometimes I feel like there is budget, but the company doesn't know how to allocate it. But and sometimes they have a
Yeah,
plan, but they don't have a budget, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I'm not talking about budget like this is like a sign with all of the stakeholders budget and we have to keep track on this budget. No, no.
Mm,
I'm talking just what are the expectations about the budget,
mm,
and what are, if we have problems, expectations, and needs, and we have some image about the budget, then we can start talking about, from 100,000 different solutions, what are those which fits our budget, problems, needs, and expectations. And after that, we can do some planning. And I don't mean like an entire roadmap, an entire, scope of solutions which we have to implement. I'm just talking about first steps which we have to take to to just see and like involve is this budget is possible, right? Because uh, if we have expectations to solve 1,000 problems with $100,000, it could be like impossible, right?
right. So can we move to the process of purchasing? Because I wanted to talk about something that's probably the part of every single process, which is negotiation. Uh,
Yeah.
because from my experience, there are like people that are responsible for implementing the project, like in-house people that work at certain company, but they are also, if we're talking about corporations or bigger companies, that this is the companies that we work with on a regular basis, they always have procurement department that maybe is not like really understanding the complexity. They are responsible, for making sure that they will pay the proper price for this solution. And this is something that I wanted to find out from you. What is your approach when you hear when the person that is responsible for purchasing, for paying basically, ask you
Hmm.
questions and wants to negotiate the price without really understanding what's happening. What are you responsible for? The complexity of the solution that you will be providing.
It's a very good question because it's like from I take most of the negotiations
Mm.
regarding to IT software which I provide and which we provide, and what can I say is that it is a very good thing if you are creating the specific negotiating process, which you are involving, some kind of few steps. It's not like one talk, like, okay, this price is too high, just make it shorter, so on. It's like first step would be to meet the someone who is purchasing from purchasing department and someone who is responsible for technical specification is those two people are talking directly to someone who is selling.
Mhm.
And so let's say with me, uh, I can exactly tell them uh, what we have to cut if it's not fit to the budget, and the technical person can just say, okay, this is the hierarchy, the things which we need. If you say that this costs that amount of money, and it means that this is not first, second, or third thing which we need, it means that we can, for example, just purchase in the future. It means that you can cut it from the offer, right? So it's very good if you have like the negotiations. It's not like just one meeting, but it's just maybe one meeting, but it's very well prepared, and and you are thinking about win-win from the beginning. So you know that someone who's selling, he needs to have a budget to have some time to meet you during the process, to just explain you some things and not tell you, okay, I don't have budget for that, so let's just email all of the things and that's it, right?
Mhm. Okay, so we are in the middle of this purchasing process, and we already spoke about negotiation part of that process. How do you finalize it?
Yeah, so the entire process looks like from the selling point of view, or from the purchasing point of view, it should look the same. If you work around those steps before, so you are well prepared to find some companies which you can start the entire process with. So you can start defining problems different user groups, which we talked about before. So not only the stakeholders, but some other people. The same with needs expectations. Um, and then you have to know to group them to choose the solutions which can solve those problems, needs expectations. Some of them could be done with, for example, some specific modules of the same software, and some of them are just regarding to, for example, doing some robotics implementations, right? So you can say, okay, those ones are just a way different project, right? It should be on our roadmap, but it's not directly connected to the projects which we are already running, which is, for example, ERP implementation, right? MES implementation, and so on, right? So, so you know the exact, so you know you have some scope about the solutions which you have to choose. Then you have to group those solutions, as I said before, and then you should count ROIs for each of them. So you have problems, needs, and expectations. You have some solutions which solve them, and you have some ROIs. And after that, you can make a hierarchy, right? So you can say, okay, our hierarchy is to choose the first one, the first project which we'll be running will be the one who is having the fastest ROI, let's say.
Yeah.
So you make the proper prioritization.
You mentioned ROI. ROI would be the part of monitoring and evaluation, the implementation, right?
Of course, there will be ROI, which will be live during the project, but you need to have like a business price on each solutions which you want to do. What do I mean? It means that, let's say you have on your solutions list, you have MES implementation system, or like making or implementing 3 robots, right? So how do you want to know what you should done first, robots or MES, right? So this matrix with some problems, expectations, and needs. Also, if you have ROI from all of them, you know what will be first, because your strategy can assume that the first project will be the one who have fastest ROI. And after that, of course, you're tracking the ROI after your roadmap implementation.
Sure. So yeah, is this it? The end of the process? We are evaluating the
Yeah, like
implementation and then monitoring constantly to improve it and or find out if there's any problems that occurred after the
no,
implementation.
first of all, we have to prioritize, as I said. Then we have to build a digital transformation roadmap, right? So this is the thing. We can build a roadmap for the entire process and put everything which we want to buy in this, or we want to just create a roadmap for a specific project, right? After that, um, we have to organize the business technological goals, which we have to track, right, during the process. Then we have to separate a specific proof of concept project. So not we are like purchasing the entire ERP system, let's say. No, we want to choose the vendor who will for sure meet our needs, but we want to start to implement from one module, because after we learn from implementing the one module, we will know we will learn, and we will know how to adopt and how to buy the second module. And we precisely define the project scope of this POC project, right? And then we start the purchasing process, finding a provider or integrator, find some industry experts which we can work with, and so on. And we provide the entire purchasing process, also the negotiations, showing our potential vendors what is the entire roadmap, but what we are want to focus on the first step. So to make sure that the potential POC vendor will meet the entire roadmap, and also he can implement the specific POC project.
Yep. Takeaways?
Sure.
Okay, I will go first. Something that we kind of mentioned, but not really, is like the post sales support. I see that there are companies that they are not really paying too much attention to maintaining that good relationship with the vendor, and I think that's a big mistake, because there will be this communication is super required for the ongoing process of constant change. So something I would like to remind, that the vendor, since the implementation, the vendor is your best friend or should be your best friend, or at least best business partner. So, I would say that, remember, that this relationship doesn't end whenever you finish the implementation part of the project. This is just it's just the beginning. It's not about closing the transaction. It's more of starting a business relationship, I think, after the solution is implemented. What's yours?
Yeah, yeah. I want to, talk, say a few words about what you just said. Of course, that's important, but also you have to have in mind that the entire project budget is not only the budget which you have to spend on the vendor, because you have to count the entire life cycle of the solution or of the software you buy, and also the infrastructure and so on. So mostly it's much more money that the offer you will have, but you will know it after you make a proper, solution matrix, which I talked about before, right?
Right.
Also, there's very important after you create your POC project, to to always adopt and monitor the way the project is going, right? So you have to have a specific KPIs. It could be ROI after a project, but it could be also timing. It could be also real money savings. It could be also how people adopt to new solutions and so on. So you have to monitor ongoing process to make sure that the second step and the third step and the next step of the roadmap will be, you will implement it having this all of the knowledge before.
Sure. Beautiful. So I think we should invite all the people listening and watching to the next episode, which would be the 22nd episode. And we will look on the other side of the process that we just described. So we'll talk about how to sell 4.0 solutions, like IT solutions that are supporting the optimization of production processes. So stay tuned, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you. Bye.